My name is Harold, and this is my story. So I had two friends, Vanessa and Erwin. Both were very smart and were actually quite like me. They were probably some of the nicest people I know. But other people seemed to think otherwise. Every day we were constantly picked on for being socially awkward and too nerdy, and not interacting with the rest of the student body. Sometimes I wished I was part of the better crowd. During spring break, some of my relatives came over to our house to visit. One of my uncles, one that I've had close relations with when I was a kid, struck up a conversation with me. He talked to me about my social life, which was painfully awkward. I had heard the same charade before, grown-ups who don't understand me and just assume that it's easy for people like me to grow out of our shell. On the first day back to school, my mother decided to confront me about it. She was concerned I wasn't making friends, and she told me that having social connections was important later in life. She wanted me to break out of my shell by going up to other students and talking to them. However, I wanted to make sure they accepted me for who I was. I guess that she was right, and I decided to try to gain new friends to make myself a better person. I guess when I started school again, I decided to start a new life. I had enough of being alone and awkward. During lunch, I decided to sit with a few more popular guys. As I tried to sit down, one of the guys shoved me out of the seat. Everyone started to laugh. Some other kids then told me I could sit with them. We talked endlessly about TV and video games. Turns out we had a lot in common. I was so excited I didn't expect what happened next. After talking a while, one of them asked if they could copy my homework. After debating for a while, I told them I wouldn't let them cheat. That was when they kicked me out. After debating which group I should join next, I decided to try something new. The next day, I went to try out for lacrosse to meet some new people, and I wasn't horrible at it. I actually felt for a few days that I was part of the group, and I could actually relate. But after a while, the jocks started to make fun of me. They always made me carry their equipment and never let me play. They teased me for how small I was and played pranks on me. When I stood up for myself, they stopped talking to me. That is when Vanessa told me she was worried about me. She told me I was making myself a target for humiliation, and she tried to tell me who the bad kids were so I could avoid them. Despite her help, we both managed to overlook an unlikely problem. The prettiest girl in my math class was the only person who talked to me, not asking me to do her homework or help her cheat. She actually felt like a real friend. I felt like I belonged. School dance was coming up. I remember when she asked me to go, but only to make her ex-boyfriend jealous. After entering the dance together, she completely ditched me, making me feel publicly humiliated. Everyone who came started rumors saying horrible things about me and why I was ditched. It seemed like no one wanted to be friends with me, and everyone started treating me like a biohazard. After all this drama that had happened before, I thought I had finally learned my lesson, and I realized that fitting in with the coolest people isn't always the best decision. However, I was thinking ahead of myself. For 2 days after the dance, I started hanging out with Erwin and Vanessa and regaining my self-esteem, but then something unexpected happened. The coolest group in school asked me to hang out with them. However, I soon learned that they were trying to increase their power and raise their own self-esteem. They told me that it would be in my best interest to not talk to people outside the group. After a while, I realized I hadn't talked to Vanessa and Erwin in a long time. I decided to talk to them during lunch and see if they wanted to hang out after school. I sat down, and they said they didn't even know who I'd become, and that I felt like a complete stranger to them. They even talked about breaking our friendship if I stayed with the cool kids. On top of that, the cool kids said I couldn't hang out with my old friends. I had no idea what to do. I felt like I was going to die. So I had to choose which group I belonged in. My old group of friends with Erwin and Vanessa, or the new group of cool friends. I decided to choose my old friends because they were the ones who stuck with me through the toughest times and were concerned about me even when I wasn't concerned about them. Eventually, I acknowledged my mistake. I knew that ignoring my true friends that were there for me for the past years was more than unforgivable. But they decided to forgive me anyway. I guess that shows how much true friends will do for you. Some of the people I met in the other groups decided to leave and join my friends. We created our own group and continued to let anyone join without even considering which group they came from. Because friends shouldn't care. They should like you for you. I finally felt comfortable in my own skin. I was in a group of real friends who supported each other and didn't care what other people thought or how they judged you. As long as we had each other, what they said didn't matter. And that's my story.